4 words that decide everything. Something critical is happening on American roads, and most drivers remain unaware of how quickly routine traffic stops are becoming gateways into criminal records. What begins as a simple citation is increasingly turning into questioning, searches, and arrests, not because of wrongdoing, but because of unfamiliarity with legal boundaries. Courts across the country are now documenting the same pattern. Ordinary people detained beyond lawful limits, pressured into conversations, and searched through consent they never realized they gave. These changes are not hypothetical. They are built from real arrests, real court rulings, and real people who believed cooperation alone would protect them. Stay with us, because misunderstanding even one of these 4 phrases can cost you your freedom, your finances, and your future. Subscribe now, hit like, and let's break down what every driver must understand before their next stop. Chapter 1. 4 words. Change. Every traffic stop. Traffic stops are legally limited encounters, yet most drivers believe they last as long as the officer remains present. In reality, once the original purpose of the stop is completed, usually when a citation or warning is issued, the legal authority to detain often ends. Officers frequently continue conversations after this point, not casually but strategically. This gray area is where most constitutional violations quietly occur. The confusion benefits enforcement, not the driver. In Nebraska, a driver named Dennis Rodriguez was pulled over for briefly driving on a highway shoulder. The officer completed the traffic warning, then kept Rodriguez on the roadside while calling a drug dog without any new suspicion. The dog arrived minutes later, alerted, and drugs were found. Rodriguez was charged and convicted even though the original stop had already legally ended. The case reached the Supreme Court, where the court ruled that extending a completed traffic stop without reasonable suspicion violates the Fourth Amendment, establishing a nationwide rule limiting stop duration. Officers may not extend a completed stop without new justification. Casual questioning is often used to generate suspicion. Most drivers remain stopped when they are legally free to go. Prolonged stops increase search opportunities. This phrase forces clarity, removes ambiguity, and demands legal accountability. It prevents fishing expeditions, limits unauthorized extensions, and places the officer's justification on record. When confusion ends, power shifts back to the individual. Chapter 2. Plead the Fifth. Protects your silence. Many drivers believe remaining quiet protects their rights, but modern court rulings have made silence without verbal invocation legally dangerous. In Texas, a man named Genovevos Salinas voluntarily spoke with police about a double murder. He answered questions for nearly an hour, then suddenly went silent when asked about ballistic evidence. Prosecutors later argued that his silence was proof of guilt. Salinas was convicted and his case reached the Supreme Court. The court ruled that because Salinas never verbally invoked his Fifth Amendment rights, his silence could legally be used against him in court. This ruling now governs how silence is treated nationwide. Courts require a verbal invocation of the Fifth Amendment. Silence alone can be framed as evasive behavior. Officers are trained to continue questioning without invocation. Prosecutors exploit ambiguity during trials. This phrase formally activates constitutional protection, prevents silence from being mischaracterized, and eliminates interpretive risk. Once invoked, your words stop becoming evidence. The law recognizes your boundary the moment it is clearly stated. Chapter 3. A lawyer stops interrogation. Interrogation does not begin at a police station. It often begins during roadside questioning under pressure and uncertainty. In Arizona, a man named Robert Edwards was arrested and questioned about robbery and murder. After initially speaking, he clearly requested an attorney. Police ignored that request and continued questioning the next day, eventually obtaining a confession. The case reached the Supreme Court, where the court ruled that once a suspect requests a lawyer, all questioning must stop until an attorney is present. This created the modern rule that protects roadside and custodial interrogations today. A clear request for counsel must stop questioning. Indirect or uncertain statements do not qualify. Officers may continue without clear invocation. Clear requests activate full legal protection. This phrase ends interrogation, blocks manipulation, and moves your protection into the courtroom. It prevents accidental admissions and ensures that legal counsel becomes your shield. Chapter 4. No consent to searches preserves your case. Consent is one of the most misunderstood legal concepts during traffic stops. Many drivers believe refusal implies guilt, when legally the opposite is true. Consent eliminates the need for justification and transforms questionable searches into lawful ones. Once given, it cannot be undone. This is why courts consistently examine consent as a central issue in suppression hearings. In California, a passenger named Alfredo Bustamonte was stopped during a traffic investigation. Police asked for permission to search the car, and consent was given without explaining that refusal was an option. The search uncovered stolen checks and Bustamante was charged. The Supreme Court later ruled that voluntary consent makes a search lawful even when the person does not know they can refuse. This case established how consent searches are judged nationwide. Consent authorizes broad searches. Refusal preserves constitutional challenges. Officers must rely on independent justification. Evidence becomes contestable in court. This phrase protects your legal defenses, preserves suppression arguments, and maintains leverage for your attorney. It ensures that searches occur only under lawful standards. When consent is withheld, accountability is restored. What you do next matters. Most people lose their rights long before they ever see a courtroom. They lose them quietly, politely, and without realizing it. Every word you speak on the roadside becomes evidence that can follow you for the rest of your life. These 4 phrases are not confrontational. They are preventative. They protect your record, your freedom, and your future. Every word spoken during a traffic stop carries legal weight. Memorize these phrases before your next drive. In the next video, we are exposing the silent physical actions officers legally treat as consent, even when you never say yes. These hidden mistakes are destroying cases across the country, and almost no one is teaching them. Subscribe now so you do not miss the next breakdown, because what your body does may matter more than what your words say.